Hello and welcome to the Weird Record Club. This is where we look at vinyl records that get ignored elsewhere. The weird, the wonderful, the psychedelic, the odd, the comedy, the novelty, all that kind of stuff. So today we're going to have a walk through some singles, 7-inch singles that I picked up recently. Now, I love it when you come to a flea market or a charity shop and they've got a load of singles in and they're £3 for £1 or £5 for £1. So here are a few that I picked up at a local flea market in the £5 for £1 box. So first of all, couldn't resist that. Look at that. Huckleberry Hound and his friends, including Yogi Bear, Boo Boo, Pixie and Dixie, Mr. Jinx, so on. So this is actually 3 EPs of songs from Hanna-Barbera cartoons. There's a Flintstones EP, there is a Popeye EP, and of course Huckleberry Hound and Yogi Bear. Can't say I've listened to all of this, but anyway, that's a nice little bit of fun to start us off with. So next, another thing I was really nice to get for just 20p was this edition of, can I get that in focus? Night of Fear, anyway, by The Move, so their 1966 debut. So Night of Fear, of course, it depicts a bad trip, or it sounds like a nightmare or a bad acid trip, with sort of Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture accompanying it. Now, if you see this single, it's worth turning it over because the B-side, Disturbance, is probably the wildest bit of most out there psychedelia released in 1966, with the possible exception of Tomorrow Never Knows by the Beatles. So really wonderful B-side. It was for a while Roy Wood considered this as being the A-side, but with its sort of references to mental illness, they decided to flip it to Night of Fear. But anyway, great debut single and a classic psychedelic B-side there. Now next, I've never seen one of these before, so I bought it, again, it's 20p, just to see what it was. It's a Goodson record. Have you seen one of these? Non-inflammable, it tells us. Good. I'm not going to test that. It also, you can see there's a picture here of a hand bending the record in half. Unbreakable, pliable, featherweight, it says. So this record is equal in playing time to a 10-inch record, it tells us. It's manufactured on rhodoid. So rhodoid is a kind of celluloid that they make it from, and it's got, what's the band name? It is the Marlborough Dance Orchestra and the Pennsylvania Melody Syncopators. Never heard of either of them. I think they were studio bands who put out the two songs. The two songs on here are Sweet Mystery of Life and Talk About Heaven. Unfortunately, I can't really play it because it turns out you need to play it at 78 RPM. So it's, when I tried to play it, it sounded very, very quiet, but obviously it was at the wrong speed as well. So anyway, interesting. This comes from, I wondered how old it was, but looking it up, they seem to be made between about 1929 and 1933. So this is getting, this is getting on for a century old, and here we have it, still with us. So I was also very happy to pick up a copy of Wild Wind by John Layton. So Joe Meek produced classic. I think this was the follow-up to Johnny Remember Me, and again it's another really atmospheric one where you got this sort of fantastic wind effect running through it. So really nice to pick that up. One of John Layton's classics, best songs. I also picked up this, I couldn't resist it, Zagra and Evans, that's the A side, In the Year 2525 Exordium and Terminus. Now that's the title. The band I was in, the Ukrainians, attempted a cover version of this once many years ago. But Zagra and Evans, yeah, the ultimate one-hit wonder. They hit the top both sides of the Atlantic and elsewhere. Never again. Now, I got an album by them when I was a teenager, and I don't remember it as being very, very memorable. And, you know, in the year 2525, this sort of dystopian vision of the future, where everything you think and say is in the pills that you took today, that is their greatest moment. So, nice to hear that one again. Now, a psychedelic classic that doesn't get talked about very much is this one by the Marmalade. So I picked this up again for 20p. This is I See the Rain. Now, you probably remember the Marmalade for their hit songs. There's one called Reflections of My Life, and unfortunately they also did a version of the Beatles' Obla Di Obla Da. Now, if you hear this, you'll forgive them for Obla Di Obla Da. So I See the Rain, psychedelic, droney, jangly guitar, really atmospheric, so a nice excursion into psych for the Scottish boys. The B-side's good fun as well, The Laughing Man, so it finishes with these crazy laughter, sped up laughter effects. So I was very happy to find that for 20p. Moving on to what we have next, we have this one. If you hear some scratching in the background, it's just Ozzy the kitten. I think he might have chosen this time to have a poo. Let's hope not. Tommy Steele, early pioneer of British rock and roll. There we have it from 1956, I think. Rock with the Caveman. It's not really hard rocking compared with, say, Cliff Richard's Move It, but you know, rocking with a Caveman, it's got a nice novelty feel to it. So I think that was worth 20 English pence for that. Now, I often pick up records when you've never really seen anything like it, and here's a weird one. It is by the British Paper and Board Makers Association. So there we have it, the British Paper and Board Makers Association record. So side one is songs about where would we be without paper, sort of folky songs by Robin Hall and Jimmy McGregor. Now, I looked them up. They're better known for their song Football Crazy, His Football Mad. So on the other side, it's Getting into Paper, and this is a talk. It says career opportunities for graduates of the paper science course at the University of Manchester Institute for Science and Technology. So this is not for sale. I don't think anyone will buy it, well, except me, obviously. And it was something that they obviously gave out to children, with folk songs on side one to entice them into the world of paper, and a lecture on side two to tell them of the wondrous future they would have in the world of paper. So back to the music. I was very pleased to pick this up as well. This is the Monkees' alternate title. So one of the Monkees' strangest songs, with its strange changes in tempo and everything, but obviously its original title in the US is Randy Scouse Git. The story being that when Mickey Dolenz, the drummer of the Monkees and the author of the song, was visiting England, he was watching a sitcom, Till Death Do Us Part, and in that, a character in the sitcom called his layabout son-in-law a Randy Scarce Git, and of course Mickey Dolenz, being American, said, you know, same language, but I don't understand a single word of that insult. Randy, what's that? Scouse, what's that? Git, what's that? So obviously the American title would be horny Liverpudlian son of a bitch, or something like that. Anyway, Randy Scouse Git wasn't going to work as a title in the UK, so the record label said we need an alternate title, so they came up with alternate title. There we have it. But one of the Monkees' finest moments, in my opinion. Now, in the same 5 for a pound box, I picked up a couple of Traffic singles. Here we have Hole in My Shoe, one of their biggest hits, one of their most twee hits, and a lot of people don't like that sort of pop psych, bubblegum psych feel. I love it, by the way, though it's hard to listen to this now without thinking of Neil from The Young Ones. I climbed on the back of a giant anchovy and fell through a crack in the fridge, or whatever it was. The B-side, though, Smiling Face, is a great psychedelic track that isn't on any of their albums, so worth picking up for that. Just a couple more to show you. Of course, I always pick up a Tornadoes, a Joe Meat related one if I find any. We saw the John Layton one earlier. This is this from 1962? So this is Globetrotter. Doesn't have much in the way of crazy effects compared with Telstar or Robots or Life on Venus or the others, but still worth picking up for 20p. And of course, if I ever see any Donovan, I'm a big Donovan fan, so I always pick these up. So this is Mellow Yellow, and notice on the other side Preaching Love, which is another really good B-side that you don't see elsewhere. Now, Mellow Yellow is associated with the belief that smoking banana skins gets you high. The craze was, it developed in the 60s, was that you'd scrape the pith off the banana skin, dry it out in the oven, and then you'd crumble it up and smoke it, and it would give you something akin to an LSD trip. It was an alternative to licking toads if you wanted a free psychedelic experience. And of course, when I was a teenager, me and my friend, we'd heard the rumor, this would have been in the 80s, we'd heard the rumor that smoking banana skin gets you high. And, the rumor was that Donovan had written a song about it called Mellow Yellow. Electrical banana is going to be a sudden craze. So we tried it. We scraped the pith off a banana skin and put it on a radiator to dry. That didn't work. It went into a horrible black mush. And we learned certainly that our quest to achieve cosmic consciousness through banana skin smoking was entirely fruitless. So don't try it at home, kids. It doesn't work. Stick to licking toads. Now, if you want to know, in reality, the banana skin smoking myth came from Country Joe and the Fish. They started it. If you want to know more about it, I've written an article about it for Psychedelic Scene magazine, and I'll put a link below if you want to know more about how this rumor started and developed, and how the government had to make these banana smoking machines to look into it and all that kind of stuff. So there we have it, a handful of weird and wonderful singles in the 5 for a quid box at a local flea market. What do you find in your local flea market? Put it in the comments. Other than that, I'll see you next time on the Weird Record Club. Bye bye.